Usually takes a second for Twitch to come online. Thanks, I had no problem today.
Colors live.
Nice, man. That's how I know you're a dedicated fan. You got instant notifications.
I got notifications, man.
Alright, well, as usual, we'll wait for Twitch to... Or, well, we won't wait for Twitch to come on, I should say. So, thanks, guys, for showing up again. It's Blue Collar Booze live Friday share, where we talk about industry news, we talk about different industry topics, and most of the time I try and have someone on, and so it's not just me talking to a camera. And in this case, we got Chad from Wells County Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
And economic development. Yeah.
Awesome. So he's going to be talking a little bit about just finance and the economy and all the fun stuff in the brewery. Yeah. Brewery. And then, of course, we got Dakota, longtime friend. So.
Hello.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I guess I'll just give it away to you. I think we're live on Twitch, hopefully by now. We are not. So if you want to, we can just pour a beer first.
What do we want to pour?
I don't know.
Probably.
You want to do something lighter first?
Yeah,
the Slushy?
something lighter. The stouts are gonna rack.
So, since you guys had not had a Slushy for 450,
I've had Slushy. I've never had this one.
I've never had a
Colin
450 North beer at all, so this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I figured I would bring one for you.
Thank you.
Now we're online for all three.
Twitch is on?
Yep.
What's Cole doing tonight?
I think he had a Christmas going on.
Did he?
Yeah.
So he won't be on again.
I told him we were doing live Friday, and he's like,
Just jelly.
so that usually means probably not.
Who had the Barrel Society Cup?
Colin.
Sure.
Thank you. What's this one?
450 North Slushy.
It is Beetle's Juuuce Slushy XL.
Nice. What's the
450.
flavor?
It is a blackberry, grape, peach, and pineapple.
Nice.
Yeah, that's just so good.
See, I don't understand how people can get upset about it being this. The people say they're buying these for the ABV.
Yeah.
They're buying them for the flavor.
No, it tastes delicious.
I don't think I've ever really bought a beer for its ABV.
I've
It
never
just
bought a
sounds
beer
weird.
for its ABV. I've bought a beer because it tastes good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll glance at it, but the reason I do is, for the flavor.
And I'm, am I going to stop buying these beers because they're 3%? No, because they still taste good.
But when do you
But they're gonna-
when do you just not buy it because it's? I mean, that's a strong difference between a fruit juice and a
3% still beer.
True.
I mean, Answer some of their stuff when it was originally came out at 4.5%.
Yeah.
What they're saying essentially was the original beer was 8%. By the time they had all the fruit purees and everything else, that tons and tons of fruit that go in these things, that knocked it down so much that it knocked it down more than they thought it did. And so, but again,
yeah, I definitely don't think they deserve all the outcry they're getting for sure.
I don't either. I mean, the beer, it still tastes good. That's why people buy them. That's why people get them. That's why people wait out all night for them. Is because they taste good.
Well,
It's
that's
not
been the
because they're getting
consensus.
drunk on them.
Well, yeah.
It's just jelly.
And anybody who's shocked by that hasn't had this beer.
Yeah.
I've drank a lot of these beers, and I drink a fair amount of beer, and I know what I can drink and what I can't drink, and I can drink several of these, and I know that I knew that they're not 8%.
Oh,
You know when
you
when
can
you've
tell.
drank a couple 8% beers.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's shocked by this, to me, they're not drinking the beer.
In which the
They don't care.
online
It's the flavor.
the
Yeah.
online community has been pretty down the middle as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Half of them say for sure, like, you know what, I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't drinking it for the ABV. I'm drinking it for the taste. Then the other half weren't even like mad. They were just making pointing fingers and laughing.
Well, and it really comes down to you want the information that you're getting to be accurate.
True.
So I get that. You want when you say you're getting an 8% beer to be an 8% beer, not to be saying you're getting 8% and then end up getting a 3%. So if they fix it, is it going to make a difference? Probably not. People are still going to buy it.
Yeah.
And people were also complaining about the price. Fruit's not cheap.
Yeah.
So they're not price gouging you and saying, putting together a beer that's cheap.
Do you think it was an accident, or do you think it was an intentional mislead?
I don't think it was an intentional mislead. I just think it was probably an error on their part that they didn't do a better job. Because anybody would know when you add a bunch of adjuncts to a base beer, you're going to reduce its ABV.
Yeah.
Yeah, which in their letter they came out and fully apologized.
Yeah.
Which I think they've only been doing it for, 7 years? Something like that. I mean,
they've only been doing slushies for a couple of years.
So I'd imagine they're fairly new. It was a mistake for sure. For some reason, I think a lot of people think that the ABV justifies the price.
And I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that either, but like you said, I mean, they lost a few people, but I don't think it's going to damage them that much. I think they'll be fine.
I think the locals are going to be happy about it.
Well, yeah,
because they can finally get the product again.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to a number of 450 North releases, and the last one I went to, which was still warm outside, got there at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday night for an 11 a.m. Friday release, and I was 160th in line.
Yeah.
At 7:30 p.m. The locals used to be able to. I went to the release on April 20th last year, got there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was third in line. So you can see how much the warmer weather impacted it, plus the product impacted it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and you talk to locals, and they're like, yeah, we used to get here at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be in the top 20.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're like 300s.
Well, we talked last time that their marketing guy must be doing his job.
Yeah, their marketing guy is insane.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get away with a lot of things that get away with it because they don't sell outside of Indiana on purpose. When you don't sell outside of the state of Indiana, you don't have to get TTB approval on your label.
Really?
So
that's
you mean like
trademark?
Yeah. Well, they don't have to. The Federal Alcohol Commission doesn't have to approve your label, and so the likelihood they wouldn't approve some other labels because of potential trademark issues.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is the same reason they don't have to put the ABV on the can.
That's pretty smart. Interesting. Okay.
When you don't sell outside the state of Indiana, you don't have to put the ABV on it either.
So would they still have to follow? Well, yeah, they would have to follow the laws of distro. Like if they were to open a second tap room or anything like that.
They don't distro.
That's true.
They do some things, very, very, very little.
Yeah.
So they used to distro all the time, and then they stopped doing it because their stuff didn't have very good shelf life. So then they just went to straight out of the brewery.
They don't even sell up here in Fort Wayne anymore?
Not unless you get it direct from them.
It's been a while, yeah. Damn.
So that was a little tangent, but Chad, just to explain a little bit about where you're coming from, why don't you give the people a little bit more knowledge about who you are and what you're trying to do.
So I do economic development work for Wells County, which is where we are in Wells County, Indiana, and work with companies to expand currently companies that are in our community, companies that are looking to locate new facilities. Maybe there's a startup business. We work with them to, if they're interested in our community, we work to set our community up for those types of businesses. So making sure that we have facilities, building space, land, accessible, ready to build on, so that companies can be successful and us as a community be successful in landing some of those projects. And then and everything that supports business investment. So right now the big thing's housing. Housing is a big issue with having workforce attainable housing, and we're
just because of the housing boom at the moment, everything's more expensive.
I wouldn't say that the housing boom is what's making things more expensive. It's just the products in general. What you used to be able to build a $125,000 home is now a $180,000 home because price of goods.
Okay.
And so, unfortunately, the cost of construction is pricing people out of entry-level homes. cost of construction has far outpaced the wages that people receive and the raises that people receive. So, what you used to be able to afford, you can no longer afford.
Yeah, you don't want people coming in and not being able to, the workforce
Correct.
being able to buy the homes.
And so, we got to make sure that we're a community that allows for a wide variety of homes. I would say Wells County does very well in providing a higher end home, in the $200,000 to $300,000-$400,000 range, very affordable because the taxes here are much lower than some of our neighboring communities. But again, that entry level workforce attainable, when you're the entry level manufacturing worker, you struggle to find housing, not just single family housing, but apartment living. Apartment living, even in a market rate apartment. So if you make a certain amount too much, finding an apartment can be difficult for you as well. So we're working on increasing housing stock, both apartments and getting land available for housing development, single family housing development.
Any initiatives that you can talk about now, or you want to save that for?
Well, we're certainly looking at a number of different parcels, specifically in some areas within the county, some in municipal areas, some outside of municipal areas. Getting ready to kind of have some conversations with the landowners that see if they have any interest in selling. The state of Indiana has provided some new incentive around housing TIF, so we'll be investigating that to see how we can use that to help offset some of the costs, because one of the things, like I said, you can't really offset cost of building. So where you offset some of that cost of entry is in the lot price. So if we can reduce the lot price, either from helping with the land purchase or helping with offsetting the infrastructure price, putting the streets, the sewer, water, all that stuff. I mean, that's all stuff, the streets, sewer, water, all that goes in the ground before you sell a single lot.
Yeah.
So you've got a multi-million-dollar investment and you haven't made a single dime on it.
Yeah.
So if we can help the developer offset some of those upfront costs, help reduce that lot price, we hope that we can then get some people, in that entry level home, in that 170 to 210, 225 price range.
Yeah, 'cause it's been a while since I haven't seen any new housing additions going up in Boston.
There hasn't been a new housing addition start in Wells County since before the recession.
Wow.
So there is one that is on the Plan Commission agenda for next month. So it'll be the first housing addition plat that's going to get a major subdivision to get approved since before the recession.
Damn,
That's awesome.
pretty cool.
So, I'm going on a tangent there. I was just going to, a chance for you to, I don't want to say toot your own horn, but how has the Wells County, how's your project and your department and everything that you're doing, how have they been, I don't want to say performing, but things been going smoothly, things been going well?
Yeah, things have been, here in Wells County, been really going well. This year alone, we had nearly $1 billion worth of investment by manufacturers in the county, and we were the 12th highest percentage grossing GDP in the state of Indiana for 2018. Everything's generally about a year behind on those things. We've had 2 years of straight across the board population growth, where we've seen triple-digit population growth within the county. And
does that take into account people moving into the area?
Correct. So it's net migration.
A lot of
your domestic
taxes are huge.
Yeah, and we've done well on some new industry attractions. So we're creating jobs. Our industry is growing and creating more jobs. I think we had about $65 million worth of investment last year in 2018, and we had I think like 99 million. But I know it's more than that because I'm waiting on some numbers from another company. So I know we're going to pass $1 billion worth of, or $100 million worth of.
I didn't realize Wells County was doing that well.
Yeah, $100 million worth of investment within the county just in 2019. So
wow.
So companies are investing. They're investing in their equipment. They're investing in their people. We're seeing per capita income significantly increase over the last 3 years. So people are making more here in the county. I think their dollar goes a lot farther in the county, again, because taxes are lower here and cost of living's lower here. You get more money or house for your money here. And
I think it's only going to continue to be that way too, because Fort Wayne's just getting so huge.
That's something I was going to ask is as far as you see a lot, and just to tie it into the kind of the craft alcohol community, you see Fort Wayne, at least we talk about it, modeling itself after Grand Rapids, or trying to develop their downtown area, and you're seeing breweries flock to the area. I mean, and not only breweries, but there's distilleries, there's all kinds of small brew pubs opening up down there. Do the localities around it, do they see kind of an outflow, a trickle of positive economy, a positive net? I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but
so we operate as a region of 11 counties, and so we've kind of self-identified our county or our area as an 11 county region. So when Allen County does well and Allen County does those things, we do well as a community as well. So it gives our people something to do and a place to go. But then some of those things also trickle back. So when you think from a brewery perspective, I've been to probably every single brewery in the 11 county region. So when we think about what we have a brewery that's going to be coming and opening up in Bluffton, like we expect and hope that people will travel from other parts of our region and neighboring counties to come and go there because it's someplace different that Fort Wayne doesn't have, or Decatur doesn't have, or Huntington doesn't have, and so on. So what we're hoping is that in that brewery perspective, that this region does support itself. The brew region, I would say, even that supports itself. When you look at the trail, they've got the brew trail for northern Indiana, and it has pretty much every single brewery on, actually all the way to Goshen, and then everything around this area as well. So it's another way for our region to kind of come together and our breweries to come together, very similar to like what wineries do. You got the wine trail that's been out there for a long time. And
what does that do for the breweries? I guess I've never even...
So it gets people
I know
in
it
there.
is, but...
So you get a passport and you go into the brewery and you get a stamp, and at the end of you getting your book stamped, they give you something at the end. So,
oh, okay. Kind of like Bourbon Trail.
Yeah, very similar like the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what it was. I thought it was just kind of like, hey, this is the beer trail.
Oh no, you actually there's a book you pick up at one of the breweries and go get your stamps.
Is there a time limit on when you have to have it all completed?
Generally within the year.
I gotcha.
Because they put out a new book about every year.
Oh, okay.
Because there's new breweries coming every time. So.
Can you do it just as many books as you want? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So you as an individual and your kind of role, just hypothetically, and then you can tie in, Parlor City if you want to, just to talk about them. How would you, because your main position is kind of enticing businesses, working with businesses, trying to get them to realize how great Wells County is, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you orient that and focus that on breweries and distilleries and that kind of industry?
I think it's breweries, businesses, people, anything and everything starts with building a community that people want to live in.
Yeah.
And so, you have to start with having a good quality of place and having a quality downtown and having, the amenities that people want to move into a community.
Yeah.
And so, and that's pretty much anywhere, and that's breweries want to be in those places because that's where people are.
Yeah.
And, I think tying in Parlor City, the person that's starting up Parlor City Brewing came from Petoskey, Michigan. And he looked at our community, looked at a couple other communities, and just really liked the involvement that was going on in downtown Bluffton, and found a place that he felt that he could set up shop, and came here, moved to the community, and getting a brewery going. So
that's awesome.
I mean, from Michigan.
Just
very cool.
Being a native of Wells County, it's awesome to see that. I mean, it sucks going other places. It really does. You want to stay in where you're wanting, where you live and breathe. So it's awesome to see that opening up. I'm excited for it. I had an opportunity to try some of their stuff at Burfest. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, it was pretty good. So I'm excited to see them open up.
Yeah, they're.
that's coming up here in about a month.
I need to get some
too,
tickets,
isn't it?
actually.
Yeah, so Burfest in Bluffton on
that's
February
why you're
15th.
There you go.
I'm still working on getting more breweries signed up and a few more wineries signed up for that event. We'll have silent auction, and I'm hoping we should have up to about 21 different tasting tables like we did last year, and
Nice.
at the Wells County 4-H. So
I would
tickets are
say-
available online now at blufftonnow.org, and
So all you people tuning in, better get a ticket.
Heck
yeah, so it's a great event. It's a great benefit. So again, it's hosted by Bluffton Now, which is a downtown revitalization group in Bluffton. So all of the funds that we raise from that event go into our downtown revitalization efforts.
Awesome.
So, but yeah,
So it's just reinvest. You're putting money into
Yeah,
the area that you
absolutely.
live. So it's awesome.
and so yeah, Parlor City, they've gone there. They won Best of Show, People's Choice Awards. We do an award of the, and they bring solid beer. They brought solid beers, and I've brewed. I haven't brewed with Chris. I've had a lot of his brews, and he makes some really good stuff. A lot of fairly traditional styles. Does do some Northeast style IPAs a little bit, but he's does a lot of the traditional stuff, which is he does them very good. He's very good at what he does, and follows that standard pretty close to what it's supposed to taste like.
That's what I kind of miss. Some of the really good like standard IPAs. You just seem like you don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just starting to now go to like hazy constantly or just full fruit forward, which isn't terrible. But I really like the piney. You know, the old IPAs used to get before all that stuff.
And he does like a California Common that he's done, and a Belgian that he's done. I mean, he brews some good beer. He really does brew, and that's why I think he's going to be successful, because, you know, you can kind of pinpoint without naming breweries which ones you really won't go back to, because, I mean, the beer's like okay, and you know you only get one chance to win somebody over sometimes, and you'll have a few where you can. You know, if you keep going and getting better, you might be able to get somebody back, but it might take a while. And so when you open up a brewery, you gotta start off on brewing some pretty solid beers. Chris has been brewing some pretty solid beers, so
I'm excited for it. I think I had some of his beers there, but I can't remember what they were.
Were you there at Burfest there last year?
no,
Because I want to.
Did I go last?
no, you were there when it was in the basement of our building, but I don't think you went out to 4-H. Cole was there.
Yeah, me and Cole were there.
No, yeah, I was there because I got drunk with you guys.
we came over to your house afterwards.
Yeah, because they had the moonshine there. We were getting into the moonshine.
And Danielle had a great time.
I run events, so I don't end up drinking hardly anything at all.
We thank you for it.
Yeah. Well, no, and I was just gonna say that last year's it seemed like a success.
It was
like, there
a lot
was
of fun.
so
Live
many
music.
people.
Yeah.
The live music, like I said, it's really good samples. The breweries bring really good beer, and Hop Lore brought some really good beer
Hop
last
Lore.
year.
Yeah.
Summit City brought some good beers last year. Two Times had some really good, and then we even get into Mash Club, the Fort Wayne Homebrew Club. They bring a nice sample of a lot of home brews, and Poor Misfits had a table there, and I've even brewed some beer and made it available of stuff that I've brewed. So, and then some wineries, Heartland up in Ashley, they brought last year a bourbon barrel aged wine, and it was amazing. You know, so even as a beer guy, there's a bourbon barrel aged wine that was there last year. So, and I like barrel aged stuff. So
Yeah, I'd say they have something for everybody, honestly.
yep, that's what we try.
Because I don't know if it was early bourbon or not, but the same guy we were getting that stuff from, he had a bunch of wine, he had some meads, and he had some other stuff out there too. So, yeah, it's a good time. Silent auction's pretty cool. I didn't win anything, but
Yeah, I tried, but
yeah.
No, it was a good time. So, the last thing I really wanted to talk about before we get into any kind of news was you had sent me a link about over the kind of the industry in Indiana, craft beer in review for Indiana, and how that performed. And then I just kind of wanted to get your take on some of the numbers, but then also like how does that tie into our community? How does that the 11 county district or whatever you want to call it? You know, how does that affect the northeast region of Indiana specifically? So I have the article that you sent me.
Yeah, so we have to give a shout out to Mark Lasbury from Indiana on Tap. Mark's a great guy. I've talked with him. He's come to Brewfest and did a story on Brewfest a couple of years ago.
That's awesome.
Puts together some really nice news articles and some reviews on different breweries. So I would definitely say, check out Indiana on Tap on Facebook and online and on the web to check out some of the stories.
Is that his? Is Indiana on Tap his, or is he just
Indiana on Tap is his.
Is his? Okay.
That's awesome. Because then does he organize then the Winterfest?
No.
Because that's all done through, it seems like, Indiana on
I think
Tap.
they're just a sponsor.
Yeah, I think they're. I don't. Yeah. Indiana on Tap. I don't think does it.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for putting this together. It's a very in-depth article and it goes through a lot of good stuff. So
Thank you.
I'll definitely put his link in below. I'm going to try to do that from now on. I know I haven't been linking them, but any articles that we talk about, anything like that, I'll try and put in the comments below, so that way you can actually go read. Because more often than not, as it's been pointed out, we mess something up, and that's not how we want to represent the articles that we're talking about. So if you want to, definitely go and check it out yourself. So in just his intro paragraph, one of the things that I picked out was that craft beer as a whole is kind of slowing. The market growth is slowing. It's still growing, but very incrementally. And then as a result, the flip side of that is that a lot more breweries are closing as opposed to previous years. So it's, how do you see that tying into Indiana and everywhere else? Because there's some, he gives specifics on which one's closed and what's, but do you see Indiana kind of reflecting national trends and everything like that?
Well, I think if you look at Michigan, we still are way behind in the number of breweries that are up in Michigan that have been able to be sustainable. I think 2019 had 23 new openings and 14 closings.
Yeah.
And when you look at the closings list, you can. I've been to several of them. Some of them, like Ortho City Brewery and Smokehouse in Warsaw was more of a. That one closed because the two partners they kind of separated and it resulted in the brewery and the Smokehouse closing. So it really didn't have any effect specifically on the beer or the product. From what I saw, people loved what they had there. It was just some of it just comes down to management.
So do you see then that the sustainability of a certain number of breweries is directly a result of like population, a per capita type of thing?
I think it's a combination of one, per capita, and two, when you see some of them and you see their equipment going up at auction and you're just like, wow, that's big equipment.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it is just getting bigger than their britches.
Mm-hmm.
And starting out just way too big,
Mm-hmm.
and you think of like Fortlandia and Fort Wayne as a one barrel system,
Mm-hmm.
so they're producing no more than 53 gallons, and so they can, push that out quicker and have new styles on all the time. And when you go to a brewery, you kind of want to, I think a lot of people anymore, they want to try something different. You don't go to get the same thing every single time, and
so these people are kind of opening for distro, like they're opening just for the scale, not necessarily for the craft.
I think it's their opening expecting to be at a scale that they're just not at.
Yeah.
And so, but then like Three Wise Men Brewing, which I know you guys talked about last week a little bit, that was tied to Scotty's. Scott sold Scotty's Brew House, and with it went Three Wise Men, and the company he sold it to made some pretty significant, substantial changes to that business model, and it had a lot of effect on the people who were supporting it. They did not run it like Scott did. Scott Wise, who ran Scotty's, and that had an effect on the business. So I think I'm sure as you look at some of them that are closing, you can probably look at a lot of businesses that close, and sometimes it's just management. It's the management of the business. Not everybody should own a business, and so I think that has a lot to do with it.
So you don't think this is indicative of a larger craft bubble that's might burst?
I don't think so, because I think if you're a brewery entering in today, you got to enter in with something that's going to be different than what your neighbor's brewing.
Yeah, that's what you were touching on, exactly that. I think when a new brewery pops up and you go there and you don't have a good experience, chances are you aren't going back to that brewery, and then you're going to start spreading the word. So I think people are just starting to pick their favorite breweries, and it's just producing competition, which is never bad, because then the breweries that are staying have to step up their game. The same thing happened with Mad Anthony.
Okay.
They were pretty much taken
were the only
over.
brewery.
Yeah, they were just doing kind of little things, and then they had to really step up their game to get people to come back.
Hey,
so.
boy, did they.
Yeah.
No, they did.
They did.
They make some good beers.
I mean,
And then I think you kind of get people that get into the beer game, and then at the same time they try to focus on food. And then at some point they switch to just focusing on the food, and the beer goes downhill, and they start losing people there. So I think there's a ton of variables in it, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the competition part of it, the aspect of it, is good. I mean, it's unfortunate that many breweries close, but it just causes, the other breweries to step up their game, because there's going to be more coming. I don't think it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. I think just looking at Fort Wayne alone, and you rattle off all the breweries, Hop River and Fortlandia and Mad Anthony's and Summit City and Two Toms, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. You add Kikiyanga in there. When you start going to all those places, they have something different at every single place.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going there getting the same thing that you could have got at the next place, because why go? Why leave the place you're at?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what really makes the Fort Wayne breweries thrive. And when you walk in there, there's somebody in there in every single one of them. And some of them are packed, and it's because they're all offering something different. And they're offering something different that the crowd that's going there is interested in.
Yeah. And I think location's a big thing, part of it too. I mean, I don't know how many of those, but I mean, when you're all the way out in the boonies, your beer's got to be really good to bring the people out there. Whereas opposed if you're in a city, it's a lot easier to go from, like, let's say Summit over to some other place that just opened up, try it. We can go back again some other time. It's only 10 minutes away, opposed to going an hour away or
Iowa.
something. Yeah.
Dakota, Iowa is nowhere near an interstate. It's in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, and it has two huge nationally recognized breweries in Pulpit Rock and, I'm drawing blank on the other one, Toppling Goliath.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So you got Toppling Goliath and Pulpit Rock in a little town called Dakota, Iowa.
Yeah.
And they get people who drive from all over the country to go there just to pick up some of their beer. And so, to say, well, two breweries can't survive in a small community, but you go to Toppling Goliath and they have a product, and you go to Pulpit Rock and they have something totally different. And so, in a small community, and it is a college town, there's a small college there too, but I've been to, there's a brewery that's out in the sticks outside of Indianapolis, never even been there before, never even heard of it, and go there, and the atmosphere is just amazing, the food's good, the beer's just as good as the food, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere, in a small, really, really small town. So you can make a brewery survive anywhere.
You just
people
have to
will
step
travel
up your game.
But yeah, you got to make sure people know who you are, know where you are, and you got to produce a good product.
Yeah. For sure.
We've been talking for a while. We want to crack open another one?
Sure, what do you want?
I got my cider, or we can move to the heavy stuff.
Try some heavy stuff.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Skip. Yeah, thank you. I was going to ask for that.
So again,
She
since,
says Dakota was there. I know that. Danielle didn't.
Because she was there. Yeah.
She doesn't,
She drove.
probably doesn't want people to know, but she got.
I wondered if you were gonna bring that up.
Yeah, I forgot about that till now.
Yeah,
No,
she
I
probably
won't.
knows because he was in the back seat when the reds and blues started flashing.
Yep. She's gonna be pissed at me for saying that.
night.
Did you?
What?
No.
Did I ride
I don't
with you guys? I know I was there, but I don't remember if I drove or rode with you guys.
Stop.
Sorry, Danielle. We love you. And Sophia.
Did Cole tell you about that one, I'm assuming?
Yeah, and I read it in the paper.
Oh, did you?
Gotta love the Bluffton paper, right?
Oh, I didn't even know that was in there. Maybe I did, but it's been a while.
So since you guys in the last one also said that you've
Yeah, no.
never had Dark Lord,
Thank you.
Go and give us your thought on that, because something I had said previously. I mean, hell, the title of the last episode was "Does anyone care about Dark Lord?" And where we were kind of coming from that was that, we go to Dark Lord Day, and what we care about is the environment, the people, and the variance and the share.
The share.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
I think that's another reason they can sell their tickets so high, because they know a lot of people are going to come for the shares.
Exactly.
There's so many beers there.
So, if people are going for entirely different reasons than Dark Lord, should they change up their Dark Lord recipe? Should they...
Why don't you take a taste and see what you think?
This one...
There's plenty left.
This is better than the last time I had it. I don't know.
This is much better fresh. No, it's much better than fresh. So
Yeah.
this is 2018.
So about a year, almost 2 years old.
That's tame. I was expecting like super sugary,
It's
sweet.
fallen off a couple of years.
No, that's
Yeah,
good.
it's definitely not as sweet as what it generally is when you first open it.
So a fresh one is like hits you in the
It's
face.
it's a little more fresh, or it's a little more sweet than what this is. But
yeah.
This is nice.
I actually have 2012 all the way up to
Oh,
2019 right now.
So you got over it. Wow.
Yeah, I had 2 of these. That's why I brought one.
Well, thank you for bringing it in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's definitely worth trying for anyone who hasn't had it yet. I recommend. So maybe I'll need to do an addendum to my last. Does anyone but us care? I don't know.
Huh? What are you doing?
Never mind.
Well, I think this is another one where people knock this beer and they call it soy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you guys, but I've never had soy sauce that tasted like this.
Yeah.
And let alone even when you open it fresh, I've never had soy sauce that's sweet. Most soy sauces that I've had are generally pretty salty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, to say it's soy sauce, well, most Russian Imperial Stouts I've ever pour looking like this.
Yeah.
They do.
So I don't get that
There,
soy sauce connotation.
every time it's not necessarily that I pick it up. It's when somebody says it, I'll pick it up. But I think on the very end of it, there's a distinct flavor with, at least for me personally, with Dark Lord that just has a faint, not like straight soy sauce, but it's just kind of got just a little something on the end.
Yeah.
But it's a sugar bomb for sure. But it does fall off. I think after it falls off a while, I think I've seen, there's been people that have been doing maybe 2012 even.
Yeah,
Back
I know
that far, they're
all the way
kinda
back
still
to
holding
09.
up. Yeah.
There's a guy here, actually lives right here in Austin, home brewer, Paul. He did I brewed a Dark Lord clone with him. And
I think I had opportunity to
that,
try that.
yeah, at my share,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you what, it's better than Dark Lord.
What was it?
It's amazing, and he brewed it again, and we went up to Journeyman on Friday and picked up 5-gallon whiskey barrels, and
Oh,
he's
that was
gonna-
what that was for.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's getting ready to transfer that
good.
second batch of the Dark Lord clone that he did, and it doesn't taste like Dark Lord. I think it tastes better than Dark Lord, but he's getting ready to throw it in a
He
whiskey
used the
barrel.
recipe though, didn't he? Or?
Well, I mean,
Like a clone.
what
Well,
people can come up with as close to
true,
a clone
'cause they aren't
recipe
gonna
as
put
possible.
their out
Yeah,
there,
they
yeah.
don't. Most brewers don't share their exact recipe.
That's fair.
So just as a small little aside, for people who don't know about Three Floyds, can you go into a little bit about them as far as, because they started as just a brew pub, I'm assuming, their original location, and then they opened that huge expansion, and they're going strong now. I think Zombie Dust is the #1 craft beer for Indiana or something like that, which it's pretty mainstream.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that the demand for Zombie Dust has significantly fallen off compared to what it used to be. And
Proportionally with production.
yes, so
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's turned into a big brewery. Three Floyds continues with their growth to work to get the state law modified, them and Sun King. So Three Floyds and Sun King are probably the 2 largest breweries in the state of Indiana. And as they continue to grow, they work with the state legislature to get the small brewery designation the number of barrels that you can brew within a year raised because
they want to maintain that.
Because they continue to keep brewing more and more, and they want to continue to keep that small brewery within the state of Indiana. So.
I think they won't ever lose their designation as a craft brewery, but whether they're a small craft brewery, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I don't even know how many. I'd have to look to see how many barrels they're doing now.
Yeah.
They're also, I don't know, that's probably open, their distillery. Is it open yet?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they've put anything out out of their distillery yet. I know 18th Street has put something out of their distillery.
I didn't know they had a distillery.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, 18th Street has a distillery, and I'm assuming they probably have, because a lot of places anymore are pushing whiskey in about 6 months.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but...
Early bourbon.
Did you catch what he was talking about last time as far as quick aging and
when they put it in a hot room, cold room, room, cold room. Yeah.
Is that pretty much what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's generally the standard to push.
Because they usually start with like whiskey gin, and then they want to start getting some of their stuff out there to get some money going and stuff. But I have been told that Three Rivers does have like stuff in the back. It's just waiting to age.
Yeah, probably.
So, which it should be coming up. I don't know what. I mean, 3 years. They're probably 3 or 4 years open now, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're hitting probably 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's another place I've got to go.
4 years is when
it's
you
really
hit
good.
4 years is when you can hit the actual calling it bourbon. So
is it? Okay.
Yeah. So in the bourbon's only called bourbon if it's brewed in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be in a fresh oak barrel. You can't add any additional adjuncts to it, and it has to be aged for a minimum of 4 years.
And at least 50% corn.
And at least 50% corn. So most ryes are actually rye whiskeys, even though they're aged as long as bourbon.
Yeah.
But they're not a bourbon. They're a rye whiskey.
Yep.
Makes sense. There's a lot of funny business, it seems like, for some of the nomenclature.
Well, and it's, you used to not be able to call something bourbon when you added something to it, or when you put it in a different barrel, like Angel's Envy, which, I like Angel's Envy. I think it's a really good whiskey, but they call it a bourbon aged in a rum barrel, is what their normal is. Mm-hmm. It's a bourbon aged in rum. Technically, it's whiskey.
Yeah.
Because they take away the bourbon name once they've added something other than a fresh oak.
It's true.
Charred barrel. But that's how they're getting away with
even
it.
If
they're calling it bourbon aged in, or bourbon.
Even if you were to take bourbon and then, you're adding an adjunct.
You're adding an adjunct other than water.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
So they're calling it bourbon, the original bourbon that then was done in something else.
Yeah. That's a good point.
That's how they're getting away with calling it still bourbon,
even
though it's really whiskey.
Their barrel age, the rum barrel age is super good. Their rye.
Yeah, I got a couple bottles of that.
Yeah.
And that's why most people don't understand why is Jack Daniel's not bourbon then. And so if you think about the process of Jack Daniel's before it goes into a fresh oak charred barrel, they run it over coals. And because they run it over the coals first before it goes in, it can no longer be considered bourbon.
Just whiskey.
Just whiskey.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so they do carbon filtering, and they run all of that whiskey through a big, huge vat of just nothing but carbon coals and
charcoal filter.
Charcoal filter, yeah. And then they put it in barrels. So that's why it's called Tennessee whiskey, because they can't ever call it bourbon.
Interesting. I didn't know that either. Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool place if you ever get a chance to go there, because they'll actually open up the lid where they're doing the carbon filtering, and you can smell all the.
Oh, I'm sure it's intoxicating.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
you go to Wild Turkey and you stick your finger in the vat, and they'll let you try the mash.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, bourbon places are pretty cool if you get a chance to go down to Kentucky.
Yeah, I've been to.
To make a.
Well, I don't even think it. I went to Edwin Co. That's the only distillery I've been to so far. Loved the place. Loved the owners. They were awesome.
And Edwin Co. is one of those that, Three Rivers kind of struggled with their first product that came out, and Edwin Co. just right off the bat put out a really good tasting whiskey.
And it's unique. It's
to
me
unique,
like
yeah.
They advertise themselves as a Cajun distillery, and it tastes like a Cajun.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's good.
It's really good stuff. For being a young whiskey, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I've never tried any of their vodka or gin or anything. Is it any good?
I'm not a big vodka. I definitely don't like gin. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
I told him, he was talking about gin the other day. I'm like, you can be my gin guy. 'Cause I know nothing. I can't say I think I had gin and tonic once.
Yeah. I don't like tonic water. I don't like sparkling water.
As long as you like beer, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll move on to some other stuff. I appreciate you coming on to talk about that stuff. I find it interesting, and it's cool to hear other people talk about what they do, because I can tell you're passionate about it and you like what you do. So it's, it's just cool to hear.
I
about
enjoy what I do because I know what I do makes a difference for people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hopefully creating a job, creating a better opportunity for them, working on workforce training, which helps get them higher pay, helping companies through their growth and those types of things, getting additional investment within the community, and helping the community by getting additional tax dollars generated by that growth that takes place. And so I feel like it's a job I can sit back, and now I can't do it alone. There's a lot of collaboration and cooperation with our local government that that goes into play, and it's challenging. Just worked on a project that we worked on. Essentially, I got the information on it the Friday before Christmas, and they wanted all the information on the 30th of December.
Yeah.
And so, it's a lot of work to put together, and trying to get a hold of people that are on vacation. And so I have to thank some people who I knew were on vacation, but got me the things that I needed. And so hopefully we'll be in a running for this project. So, but economic development doesn't stop. And so when I go on vacation, most people don't know I'm even on vacation, because I still have my phone, I still have my laptop.
Yeah.
I don't answer phone calls because I usually can't because of where I'm at, but I answer emails, and because what I do doesn't stop.
Well, I'm sure it doesn't. No, it's constant, because you can't stop. Because then once you stop, you're out of the running for
exactly
projects and stuff like that. So.
For sure. I appreciate it. The only other thing from that news I thought was cool was that 8,500 breweries across the U.S. are opened. That's awesome. 8,500 craft breweries.
I know of
8,500?
Yes.
Wow.
8,500. Yeah.
I think we're getting at least, I know of 2 more in Fort Wayne that are probably likely going to open next year.
Yeah, there's
So Dot and Line is going to be opening.
Yep.
There'll be a new brewery coming to the Landing, in the Landing project. And then obviously Parlor City and Bluffton. So I know, like I said, at least 3 in our region that are going to open up in the next year. So
I forgot about the one on the Landing.
They said there's...
And Trouble opened up a second brew pub downtown.
Like I said, if you look at they call it 23 new openings, but 4 of them were actually secondary locations that were opened of original breweries, like Ellison Brewing opened up a location in Indianapolis downtown, but their main is in Michigan. Now they're actually, I'm pretty sure they're actually brewing in the place there in Indiana as well, but then you got, Sun King opened up a Broad Ripple tap room. Well, Sun King opened up in Broad Ripple in the place where Three Wise Men used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then Upland has been opening up places all over, and they opened one up in Chesterton. So some of those.
Books and Brew is actually opening up in one in Fort Wayne too.
Books and Brew is going to open up in Fort Wayne.
I'm excited about that one.
And then, Chapman's, they opened up in Huntington. So now they have a tap room in Huntington as well as like the south side of Fort Wayne, and their main being in Angola.
Yep.
And then they have one in Wabash.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it is, again, Hoplore. Hoplore is going to be opening up. They have their main one in Logansport.
They're doing a second one?
They're opening one in Warsaw.
Oh, I didn't know. That's cool.
So some of these are breweries that are expanding that are going to be opening up second places. But
yeah. Wow.
And there was a question in here I had as far as distribution as a business model. Is it easier for breweries to open up a tap room and run through distribution, or open up a second brew house?
Most of the breweries, small breweries, are doing self-distribution. And so, like...
I thought that was illegal. I mean,
not for beer.
Okay.
It is illegal for spirits. So with spirits, you have to have the 3-tier system.
Okay.
So like in spirits, you can't own a distillery and own a restaurant and take your spirits potentially right to that restaurant. So you have to go through the 3-tier system, and so some people, like, if they have both, they'll get rid of one.
Yeah.
Because of the making sure that they don't run into any issues. But no, beer's self-distributed. A lot of Two Toms, they self-distribute. Bare Hands, they've been, I think, self-distributing still.
Is that only under the craft beer label, or does that also apply to the mega?
It's only under, well, I think it's just under the, from the mega side, you couldn't handle it. So,
True. Okay.
like Chapman's, they do self-distributing, I think. Well, no, I don't even think they do self-distributing locally, but like Mad Anthony self-distributes locally, and then everything outside of this area is through a distributor. So you can still self-distribute as a brewery.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's good to know. 'Cause I did not know. So we're in the manila folder of news now. I don't have my news. A couple other facts from, I found another article. This is more of a nationally focused one. $80 billion in the U.S. economy for craft brewers now, which is awesome. Beer is bipartisan. I thought that was kind of cool. But there was a 324 representatives and 74 senators co-sponsored the Craft Beverage Modernization and Tax Reform Act in the 116th Congress. So it was universally supported, which is kind of cool.
People love beer.
People love beer, man. I love beer. Oh, yeah. Who's doing Dry January? Obviously not us, but do you know anyone's doing Dry January?
Didn't know that was a thing.
Apparently it's a thing.
A new thing?
I guess.
A new trend?
I mean, I've never heard of it before, but I've been seeing it repeatedly online.
Part of the new year, new year?
I know some people who tried Sober October, but...
Yeah. Now, I've been seeing a lot of whiskey guys.
Thank you.
Are we getting hot? There's another one under there.
That's probably what it is, yeah.
I'm not wearing short sleeves like that.
Well, because it gets kind of toasty. No, I've been seeing a lot of whiskey guys do it. Dry January, and then Heineken is actually... What? Dry January? A dry month? Screw that, man. Heineken is giving away 1,031 packs of non-alcoholic beer for Dry January.
One more time?
Heineken?
I got that. 1,000...
is giving away 1,031 packs of non-alcoholic beer for Dry January.
Wow.
So if you want some free beer, man.
And some haters would say that 450's been doing it for almost 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Except for they're not giving it away.
No, that's cool. A couple of breweries have officially unionized out on the West Coast. Is that a new thing, do you think?
I think I could definitely see that being a big new thing. Yeah, there's many breweries that are getting in there. A brewery union, for sure.
Well, I think anything's impossible on the West Coast. When you think about...
Well, I was just talking about in general.
The most bass-ackward laws are in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do anything out there to make things just more complicated, I think.
So I think that, I'm not sure how that whole process works. I'll have to look more into it. But specifically, Anchor Brewing ratified a 3-year contract with International Longshore and Warehouse Union. So I guess they're just contracted underneath another union. I don't know. But
yeah, you can find a big union to take you under their wing, but it'd be a lot that would go into that for sure. You'd have to find the right union to do it. Yeah.
Do you see that something traveling east?
I definitely could see it. I mean, I wouldn't say in recent, like maybe within the 5 years, but at some point I could definitely see a big union starting to form.
And how would that translate down to consumers? Just some of the benefits to the employees, which is awesome. Like, they're be paying 85% of employees' health insurance premiums and 50% of their a bunch of stuff that they're doing for the employees, but I'm sure that cost has got to come from somewhere. So where is that going to come from?
I think the question, though, is how big are some of these breweries, and are they hitting the level of requirement of healthcare and some of those things? Because you don't have to. Small businesses aren't required by federal law to have healthcare, and so. I don't know. It's definitely. I mean, I think anything's inevitable. Or anything's possible.
Possible, yeah.
Anything's possible. Anybody can unionize. Anybody can unionize at any time. I don't see a real. You think about some of the breweries here, and there's 4 people, and 2 of them are the brewers. So.
Yeah.
Do you see some of the places around here unionizing? Maybe not. Do you see some of the places maybe out on the East Coast when you look at some of the things that have happened at Trillium? They've had some safety issues and stuff at Trillium. Maybe something happened in there to improve safety. I don't know.
It's all speculation.
It's all speculation.
It is. I just think
like
that
speculation.
That industry is just going to get to the point where it's going to get so big where, like I said, I don't see it happening in 5-10 years. I think it's way out there. But that industry is going to get so big, I think, with healthcare, if it doesn't change, people are going to start demanding healthcare maybe, and with the safety issues and stuff like that.
Well,
it'll be sporadic if it does happen. I mean, be a nationwide thing. That's going to take time. And the backing to do it and everything. I mean,
Anheuser-Busch and and all that, they may already be unionized. I don't know. I mean, they have thousands of employees.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't look too much into
that. The next one I had highlighted was 450 Brewing's official statement and how they responded to this whole thing. So the original beer that was tested was 450 North Slushy XL Elephant Ears.
Correct.
I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that one.
That Slushy was released during their corn maze weekend.
Was it pretty good?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite. I opened it had a share a couple weeks ago.
And then it came in at 2.56% rather than the advertised 8%. Like you said, they attribute the ABV disparity to adjuncts post-fermentation. As a result, they'll just remove the ABVs from slushy labels. But the couple said they will be added to the cans in 2020.
Correct, yeah. So a lot of people are thinking that they're just removing them by saying, well, now we're just going to hide it for good. They removed it on the last release until they could find out exactly what the ABV is supposed to be. And they did release something yesterday or today stating that essentially what they expect them to be is about 4 to 5%. Is where they're going to end up coming in at.
Okay.
And like, some of the other things that I've seen online, I mean, most of the labels are being printed before the beer's even done, and it's very tedious to test beer, and so you're likely not going to test every single one of them, and so it's in a beer like that is going to be hard to get and narrow down based on the amount of adjuncts. Mm-hmm. A stout and an IPA, and you can test it based on the Plato or bricks or whatever you're going off of to be able to test and get that. Now, if, let's say this, they add dark matter coffee. I know you were trying to figure that out.
We were,
So they add, so even adding coffee to it after the fact, if you add actual coffee, it's going to reduce it. And generally, you may not test it because you've already got your bottles and labels and they've already been printed based on the last reading you got.
Yeah, it's not like all their other beers have been way off on their ABV.
No, they're double, triple IPAs. And they're pretty sure are right on.
Yeah, I'd be more concerned if all their beers were mislabeled, but it's just their slushies. It was just a simple mistake.
Let's see, the next one. You guys a fan of Russian River Brewing Company at all?
Yeah, Russian River out in California.
Yeah,
they're getting
Pliny,
they're going to release Pliny the Younger for the first time ever in bottles.
That's exactly what I was not sure.
Oh, I'm thinking, what is it, Pliny the Elder?
Pliny the Younger.
What's Pliny the Younger?
It's a triple.
Yep. Pliny the Younger is a triple IPA.
What's it always been in?
It's always been on tap only.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
So you can go out and you can go to the festival, buy tickets, and you can get 2 bottles.
Wow. Do you think it's going to be big? I
think from the secondary side, I think they're going to be big, yeah. There's already people trying to post for trades.
I'm sure. Can you imagine the price that's going to come out with on secondary for that?
Stupid.
Yeah.
I won't pay it.
No, I wouldn't either.
Not for a triple IPA.
Yeah.
No,
I think I've
secondary value
had
for
Pliny the
it.
Elder. It's been a while, but...
What's the shelf life on those higher ABV?
Longer,
IPAs?
because it tend to turn into a malty,
Yeah.
almost a barley wine tasting.
Oh, really?
Well, there's
Well, you think of Dogfish Head's 120 minute.
yeah, and then there was that one that closed in, was it Valpo?
Yeah, the Group Sex.
Group Sex, yeah. That one, that was super. It was like almost
I
like
still have a bottle of that.
16% or something.
Yeah, it's
like
a 16% IPA.
But it tasted like bubble gum.
Yeah.
The last time I had it, it holds on for a while, something like that. It was unfortunate too because that was their last beer and it got popular.
It was the last beer they released right before they ended up closing.
Yeah,
Really?
And it was the most popular beer that they produced.
yeah.
That's too bad.
I remember that one.
So the last one I had was over whiskey, and unfortunately, whiskey news has been super sparse here recently. But I don't know if you guys have heard it. Port Ellen Distillery. It's over in Scotland. So they used to make really good scotches, and there's some still around. But they originally opened in 1825, and they'll be reopening again here soon. They were closed since 1983. So that's pretty cool for any Scotch fans. I don't know much about Scotches, but I'm learning.
I know I don't like Scotch.
You don't?
I'm not. I just came back, acquired the taste for Scotch. Now maybe eventually it'll. I didn't originally like bourbon either and whiskey, and
Now you're a fan.
now I have way more money spent in bourbon than I ever imagined I'd ever spend on bourbon. So.
Yeah.
Well, it's just crazy. The I don't know. The secondhand market for beer is ridiculous in and of itself. But then you get into bourbons, and it's pretty crazy up there too.
Yeah, but when you're dropping, and I've never paid that much for a beer, but you see some of these beers going on the secondary market for $300-$400, and you think, you open that bottle, and you got to drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this bottle for I don't even know how long.
Yeah, that's what I love.
And I've opened it, and I put the cap back on, and I open it, and I put the cap back on.
It lasts indefinitely.
And I did not pay $400 for this. I think I paid like $25 because this was when I got this one before Weller doubled the price on their bourbon. So, although I think they technically have to call this whiskey because, Kentucky Shake Bourbon whiskey because it's more wheat.
Wheated bourbon. Yeah.
So, I probably still wouldn't pay that much for one just because it's like beer and whiskey. There's I feel like they're the same thing. There is beer and whiskey out there that is fairly affordable and cheap that is just as good as the stuff that's really expensive.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
People want it because they don't have it though, or because they can't get it. You know what I mean? It's just a limited availability thing. It drives up hype. So people are willing to drop hundreds of dollars for something that. Well, I mean, like the ginger beer we had for Dark Lord that we were just talking about, how it was god awful.
Yeah, which I have no idea what that would go for on a secondary.
But before people started figuring that out, how much do you think people would have paid for that? I mean, how much would they pay for any variant from Dark Lord?
There was a Dark Lord that was aged in like Osceola barrels or something like that, or
the Scotch ones.
And that one was going for it because it had the least number of actual variants, and so the people were selling it for buku dollars, and then someone finally opened one, and they're like, "This is terrible," and then nobody wanted it. The beer was going for big money just because it was the most limited.
Yeah.
Nobody ever even tasted it.
Yeah.
And then when somebody finally tasted it, because it was the only one they didn't have on tap at the event.
It was for good reason.
Alright. You guys want to pop one more open? Or are you thinking... I don't mind doing my cider if you want to, or you want to do that one?
Yeah, let's do this one.
Do the peanut butter stout.
It's a peanut butter chocolate stout from Bare Hands.
Nice.
From 2016.
Oh, I was wondering how old that was.
Yeah, they've changed the label up again on this beer.
Have they?
Kind of curious as to how the peanut butter's holding up.
I am too.
It's a tricky... you want to help him?
Rotated.
90 degrees.
Other way.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
It
Just
took me
like
a while the
that.
first time too.
Yep.
Here, take a pour.
Go ahead, sir. Should I rinse out?
Give me a little bit.
Nah, you'll be all right.
It's not that. I still smell a little.
Peanut butter?
A little bit.
Peanut butter is one of those adjuncts that falls fast.
Does it?
Yeah.
So I had their mail order bride and then their barrel aged.
Mail order bride.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Both those are pretty awesome. You did pour out the water, right?
No, water's in there too.
Okay.
No, I drank it.
I didn't see you take a drink, so I was a little nervous there.
I smell pickles.
Is that by design? Is that?
I think it's just because the peanuts have fallen off and you got just a little bit of peanut.
I do too.
You smell pickles too?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not sour.
That's funny. Yeah.
It's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
peanut
like-
butter's still there a little bit.
What'd you say? That graham cracker, and all I could taste was graham cracker or something else.
Cole was saying blueberries.
Yeah.
And then
And
we
all I
all
could
started
taste-
tasting blueberries. I don't remember what beer that was.
I missed that episode.
It was here.
What?
Whatever one he was
remember.
talking about with blueberries.
Oh.
It was a stout that... I can't remember what it was. Something we did on here.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's not bad. That's how it on well, actually.
It's crazy how much it doesn't smell like it tastes.
no, not at all.
And this is a pretty good beer fresh, too.
Yeah, that was a really good beer fresh. I'd say Bare Hands up in Granger puts out some really solid stuff.
Yeah.
Their Honey Badger,
Oh, yeah.
I think, is better than Bell's.
And they also do honey... Is it Honey Bee?
Something, I don't know.
The honeycomb or something? It's got the...
That's the, isn't that Honey Badger?
No. God. That was... I hope I'm not saying the wrong... I don't even think I have Untapped anymore.
I don't know.
have Untapped anymore.
But they put out some really good IPAs. They put out some really good stouts. This is the time of year where their peanut butter chocolate stout stuff and mail order bride and a lot of those come out during their Christmas party.
I saw they posted an Instagram post about how it was going to be releasing here soon.
Yeah,
With some sort of party festival.
Yeah, it's usually right around Christmas. I think I've picked gone up there on like Christmas Eve or something. Pick them up.
B-Hop.
B-Hop.
Yeah, that is a super good IPA if you can get that fresh. Then they did a couple variants of it too. They did.
And even their
Exactly,
ties,
but
their tie series.
yeah.
The double tie day, and they release a bunch of variants of double tie, and then they've got just their tie PA.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one too. Thai spices and stuff in it. So they put out really solid beer.
That peanut butter's almost completely gone for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I can't taste much of
I
it.
think one of my favorite peanut butter beer is Slothlow Chunk from Four Fathers, which I haven't had in a while.
I have one still.
The last time I had one that was sitting for a while was not good. But those things are so good fresh. Like straight Baby Ruth.
That's another brewery that they
They've
put out that
kinda-
waffle talk this year that was supposedly pretty amazing. I didn't end up getting a bottle because I've really tried to
Cut
reduce
back
the
on-
amount of beer
Yeah.
that
That
I'm
seems
buying.
like everyone's thing. You know, I'd start making videos about beer, and it's like, we're trying to get out of the beer game.
I'm not trying to get out of the beer game. I'm trying to just reduce the amount of beer that I'm buying.
Yeah.
It gets addictive.
I just have so
Buying
much
beer.
beer that I need to drink more of what I have.
Mm-hmm.
And the only real, the only time I make an exception is obviously Black Friday for Bourbon County because
You buy it all.
I didn't buy. I actually cut back on the amount of that I bought this year compared to previous years.
Really?
And that's mostly like this year's this year's prop, the Proprietors is amazing.
That's what Cole was saying.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So I tried to get as much of that as I could, but I was only able to get 4 bottles.
So pretty good.
Actually, ended up 5 because prop day, but.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one. That was a really.
Did you pick up any of that double oaked or not double oaked?
Yeah, double barrel.
Is it? Yep.
I have 2 bottles of double barrel. So yeah, I got one at prop day, and then my wife got selected in the lottery, and so we were able to pick it up on Black Friday when we were up there.
Like Big Red?
No, it was through Goose Island.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we went to Chicago for.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah.
So they did a separate lottery for that.
They did a separate. Yeah, it's the only way you were able to get the double barrel, unless you drank on site. You could go up to Goose Island and open a double barrel there, and everybody says it's just hot. It's essentially reminds most people of a brewery beer. So when you open up a fresh Black Tuesday, it's just nothing but booze.
Oh yeah.
And that's what they're saying this is.
Gotcha.
So will a little time help it out?
Oh yeah.
Hopefully.
Which is Black Tuesdays. Those are just bombs, but those age really well.
You drink a 3 or 4 year old Black Tuesday.
It still is hot.
They're still a little warm, but the flavors really come out a lot better.
I've had a couple of brewery beers. The only one I had that I remember was Saul though, and that was really good. It was like an 18%. It was good though.
A lot of their beers are high ABV like that.
Yeah, they're mostly I think almost 20%.
Yeah, Black Tuesdays for sure.
I'm sitting on. I got Monday. I got Monday through Thursday. They didn't do a Friday.
Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering because even people said that the PB on Thursday tasted really, really hot and it needed time, but then when we talk about PB, it's got peanut butter. Well, time's just going to make the peanut butter fall.
I think
so.
You went to that show that Nick had, right?
Yeah.
I think we tried it.
I left earlier than you did.
Yeah, that was a horrible night for me.
Yeah.
But I think we tried it there, and from what I remember, the peanut butter wasn't that strong even then.
No, because it was all booze.
Yeah. So I don't know. I doubt. I mean, they'd have to fall at the same time. I wouldn't think the booze would fall off before the peanut butter. I think the peanut butter would fall before the booze, and you're just left with booze. Huh.
I don't know. Probably open sometime this year, maybe.
Yeah. Might as well.
My goal is to drink more beer.
That's a good New Year's resolution.
It's on my shelf already at home.
Do you guys, because you guys were talking about honey at all, and it made me start thinking about it. You guys dabble in meads at all, or not really?
I got a lot of mead too.
Do you?
Yeah, we've been to Garrigeist down in Tampa. Got some really good stuff from them. I'm a member at Four Fires over in Maumee, Ohio.
So I just picked up some of their Cranbanero.
Cranbanero, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
And then I'm a mead member at Boneflower.
Sure, big one is coming up.
And the only way to get their stuff right now is to be a member. And Aaron's meads at Boneflower, amazing. He just did a collaboration with Manic up in Crown Point, and it's a waterless mead.
Waterless mead?
Yeah, so it's all fruits and honey.
Wow. That's got to be
thick.
I bet.
And it is amazing.
Wow.
So just the juices from the fruits are the only diluter.
Yep.
Wow.
And then of course, Misbehaving is really good. And,
just going back to that, like, are there yeasts that go up that high? In AB, like as far as before they die off? 'Cause I'm thinking of all the sugar that's just in pure honey and undiluted fruits going into there, and every tutorial and video and everything I've ever watched on making home brewing mead, it's diluted because it's so thick, all the yeast is going to die off.
Well, the yeast is going to die off anyways.
I wonder if you'd have to be a long process
of
continue adding yeast to it until.
So
instead of just putting yeast in at one time.
Yeast.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do
not
that.
all. I mean, sometimes, but even like when you're trying to finish out a beer, a lot of times they'll say that it's going to finish where it finishes. and adding more yeast isn't generally going to make a whole lot of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially what happens is you end up getting a beer that finishes higher than what you want. And when you get a beer that finishes higher, it ends up being sweeter. And so the higher the ABV in a beer, the sweeter it usually ends up being, because that's sugars that weren't eaten from the yeast. So the lower, you may end up getting that variation, depending on where you brew. So if you're looking at a hydrometer and you're brewing a stout and it ends up being at 1060, that means it's essentially a ton of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And it finishes at, let's say, 1030 or 1040, you're going to end up with probably a 15% beer that's going to be pretty sweet. Now, if it finishes at like 1010, it's going to be pretty dry because it's eaten all of that sugar and it's going to dry it out a lot.
Interesting. Okay.
So the higher, it's depending on how much yeast, the attenuation of the yeast is depending on how much it's going to dry out your beer or your mead.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
And most meads finish anywhere between that 10 to 14%, 12 to 14%.
Because they're using like champagne wine yeast.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeast is good,
Yeast.
Yeast is good because it makes beer and whiskey
good.
and everything. But mead I like meads. I like the fruit. Schramm's. They're
another
probably the
one,
staple around here. Is really good meads, and there's a lot of people that are coming up, putting out some really good meads. Just like Pips up in north of Chicago, and Superstition down around Arizona and area. There's a lot of really good meaderies out there now.
Awesome. Well, I think if you guys are cool, unless you guys got anything else you want to say, that about wraps it up for us tonight. You guys good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys watching. It was really fun talking with Chad. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy talking about this stuff. So definitely leave a comment below if you enjoyed it, if you didn't, whatever, what have you. But I think it was interesting. I don't know. There's just so much to learn in what you're doing as far as business and breweries and the overall industry. There's just so much you can talk about for hours. I feel like
Easy. You can drink for hours too.
That's true. Anyways,
that's true too.
So yep, check back next Friday. We'll definitely be live again. Got some good stuff planned. Next week, hopefully I'll have a really good video coming out. It'll either be a good review with this guy doing a whiskey or an interview that we have going on, but it'll be a good video. So definitely check back for next week.
We didn't even open the whiskey.
We did not. We'll open it later. we can cut this one out. Anyways, see you guys. Thanks.